Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Dark Eldar as we get into the daily life of the slave warriors of Commorragh, or the arenas of the witch cults. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day. If you have any suggestions, comment down below, and don't forget to share this with your friends. Now stay to the end of the video because we have a special announcement if you have Instagram and you're into kit bashing. But with that said, let's get into the daily life of the slave warriors of Commorragh. Life as a warrior in the blood-soaked arenas of the Dark Eldar city of Commorragh is more akin to the life of a slave than a veteran combatant. Hundreds of these battle pits exist all throughout the city, and each hellhole is well stocked with thousands of miserable fighters from all over the galaxy. Captured and tortured during a real space raid, almost every fighter has experienced the true evil nature of the Dark Eldar, and as sinful as these Xenos are, the city they bring their slaves to is just as depraved and tormented as the Drukhari. Once in Commorragh, a group of slaves will be bought, sold, stolen, and tortured many times over before becoming property of the Dark Eldar witch cults. The witch cults are a band of skilled Drukhari killers that provide their kin with a feast of bloody torture. Torture that, for a while at least, keeps the citizens of the Dark City from cutting one another's throats. Nightly battles between the gladiatrixes of the witch cults and the slave warriors in their possession draw cheering crowds to every Commorragh arena. Each horrific performance allows the citizens of High Commorragh to feed upon the acts of lustful murder and killing, refined to the level of an art form. These massive arenas are built into the citadels of the Dark Eldar witch cults, and while only exposed to the fighting pits and the housing cells, every slave combatant is forced to cope with the twisted geometries of the webway. For some, merely attempting to settle in on such a strange environment is enough to drive them mad. Fighters are kept locked up in shadowy cells designed to cause as much pain and suffering as the battle pits themselves. Each small chamber is home to one or two captives, the cramped living conditions, another form of torture imposed by the Drukhari. If lucky, the cellmate of a fighter will be a sane individual. If not, the slave warrior will have to manage with another potential threat. Aggressive orc cellmates might attempt to bash their fellow bunkmate's head into the wall, just out of sheer rage. Mentally unstable Kroot warriors might attempt to eat their cellmates alive, or brutally cunning humans might attempt to slit their cellmate's throat during the night to reduce competition. For many warrior prisoners, the notion of a xeno race is a completely new concept, and the appearance of an alien lifeform sharing a living space is terrifying. To these ignorant captives, the Xeno cellmates are demons from hell. For a few of them, this is not far from the truth, as the Dark Eldar do not discriminate on whom they capture, whether they are from real space or the warp. All the while, the agonizing screams of tortured souls persist through the housing cells. Every few minutes, another poor slave relinquishes their sanity and begins to shriek in pain. This is the ultimate goal of the Dark City, to slowly tear apart rather than obliterate, to maim and not kill, for the Dark Eldar of the witch cults feed upon the misery of their captured warriors. Those that manage to survive in such a horrific environment and still maintain their composure are truly fierce individuals. Imperial Guard veterans captured during a Dark Eldar attack, Feral world inhabitants accustomed to harsh environments, or superhuman warriors of the mighty Adeptus Astartes. These warriors have a long and torturous road ahead of them. Each witch cult has its own arena, which is as much a display of their wealth and status amongst their kind as it is a stage for their spectacles of violence. Each cult's arena is unique, each performance more violent and outlandish than the last, for these gladiatorial sisterhoods are locked in a constant competition to offer up the greatest show for their hungry-eyed audience. These multi-level structures are clustered with barbed stages upon which thousands of warrior slaves meet a gruesome end. The arena's spectators observe from ornate thrones or from anti-gravitic pleasure crafts, drinking in the pain from a thrillingly unsafe distance. And each arena is an architectural masterpiece in its own right. The engineering marvels able to be performed cannot be compared to anything in real space. The unnatural dimensions of the webway, coupled with the ancient knowledge of the Drukhari, creates combat stages that appear like interdimensional labyrinths to the slave warriors. Each arena has its own deadly charms and challenges. Some arenas specialize in deadly obstacle courses, where some of the most agile and athletic warriors from all over the galaxy are summoned to traverse a series of traps, such as spinning blades, flaming high walls, barbed wire crawls, gravitic wells, kinetic inversion snares, or even more esoteric and inventive hazards. Other arenas specialize in capturing some of the most aggressive and deadly beasts found in the galaxy, and watch them wreak havoc amongst gladiators. Great Narloks, Carnifexes, Chaos Spawns, and even beasts never before seen by the Imperium have made their way into these arenas. Creatures capable of decapitating heads with a swipe of an arm, or beasts so massive they could crush entire groups of warriors with one fell stomp. Each witch cult is constantly in competition to outdo its rivals with the sheer scope and imagination of its gore-soaked games. Many performances spread into the audience in interesting and deadly ways as the excitement builds up to a fever pitch. Arterial spurts of blood rain down into the audience as battles take place over their heads or even amidst their stalls. The arenas crackle with tension, the viewers leaning forward in their seats with eyes wide and the look of hungry predators etched upon their faces. Be they aerial ballots of bloodletting, zero-gravity mass murders, or carefully selected menageries on the prowl. All cult performances have one thing in common. The arena is slick with blood and gore by the end of each night. For the miserable warrior performers, each night survived starts to become a punishment rather than a blessing. Pain and suffering is a reoccurring theme every night. Many warriors are cut open just deep enough to spill blood and feel agony, but never to die. Other warriors are left barely breathing, only to be given just enough medical attention as to stay alive. If a warrior is truly on his last leg, drugs and other chemicals will be injected into the dying fighter, and he will be the first combatant out the next day. For those that lose limbs, the Drukhari will perform the most barbaric acts of surgery to make the fighters deadly enough to appease their audience. The pain shown by a warrior that has the ability to win, but is crushed or sliced to pieces, is much more savory than watching a living punching bag. Those whose minds succumb to the torturous sport and go insane are still utilized in creative ways by the witch cults. Massive blades are attached to the limbs of madmen and sent out into the arena to kill their former companions. Mutagenic and radioactive scraps are grafted onto the bodies of warriors that have given up, and slowly their skin begins to bubble and their minds contort, turning them into aggressive and disgusting abominations of their former selves. And then there are those that are simply used as target practice before a show. For all those warriors that have witnessed the atrocities of the arena, survival is their number one priority. What they assume to be knights are spent fashioning weapons from what they have around them, daggers and shanks that can be concealed and used as last-ditch weapons, pouches of dust and scraps to throw in the eyes of an opponent. Even chemicals that seep into their cells are stored in the hopes of them being forms of acid or poison. There will always be those warriors that attempt to escape, and surprisingly enough, escape is a very easy thing to do. The unfortunate reality is that outside the arena of the witch cults are the streets of Commorragh. On the streets, escapees will become prey to bands of dark Eldar that prowl the streets. Homunculi will experiment on anyone who wanders too close. Quartets of Helions armed with hellglaives will slice anyone in their path. Being alone on Commorragh is much more dangerous than the arena. For those that choose to stay and test their luck in the arena, cooperation and luck is their only hope for survival. Bands of slave warriors will look out for each other as much as they can. Former Imperial Guardsmen will fight alongside Tau Fire warriors. Captured and shamed Eldar will aid Chaos cultists. Even Imperial Commissars will have to put aside their racial prejudices, because at the end of the day, they will only see themselves as veterans of the arena. The witch cults will more than likely always promote these groups, as it will prove more of a challenge and display a grander show for their bloodthirsty audience. Ultimately, each veteran will come to understand that whatever tactic they choose to employ, It won't be a matter of survival to get away from the arena, but survival to fight again. And finally, the appearance of a witch in the arena spells doom for any slave gladiator. These deadly Drukhari are masters at their craft. They enter combat dressed with as much aesthetic care as if they were to meet a lover, wearing the bladed black armor of the arena over one side of an impeccably elegant and skin-tight bodysuit known as a witch suit. The other side has sections deliberately cut away to expose their pale flesh, as if to tempt death himself. The witches also use a variety of combat drugs distilled by the homunculi covens to increase their already superhuman dexterity. When outnumbered in combat, witches will roll, backflip, and pirouette out of the way of the foe, stabbing their blades into any vulnerable point on their enemies' bodies, slitting throats and gouging out eyes as they go. They flow like water around their foe's attempt to land a blow, their expressions of aloof arrogance melting into infuriating smiles of superiority as they drink each fresh scream of agony. And those were 40 facts on the daily life of a warrior slave of Commorragh, or the arenas of the witch cult. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to share it with your friends. Now, the reason that I wanted to create this video is because there is a cool event happening right now on Instagram. It was not started by us, but we will participate. It's called Kit Bash Member. So we're saying goodbye to Picktober, which was horrible, but yeah, let's not get into that. So we're saying hi to November by participating in Kit Bash Member. This is basically a campaign to Kit Bash a model every 3 days. Now, the theme is, of course, the arenas of Commorragh, which is why we created this lore video. We wanted to explain what the arena of Commorragh is, what the witch cult was all about, and what type of things you want to do when you're kit bashing these models. Really, we wanted to create fluff to go along with each one of the models, or at least inspire you, because every day there's like a specific model type that you want to create. So for instance, the first 3 days it's a trooper, so some type of fire warrior, some type of imperial guardsman that was captured and sent to the arenas, and hopefully understanding the daily life of a slave warrior of Commorragh will help you kit bash alongside with everybody else on Instagram. Now, this was started by two guys, passion.in.person and chaos cultist. See what he did there? Cultist. But both those guys are the ones who started it. Anybody can join. All you have to do is add the hashtag of kitbashmember on your Instagram. What we're going to do is every 3 days, we're going to showcase the model that I have kit bashed, give you guys a little background to my model, and then also throw in some Dark Eldar lore for all those individuals who are just here for the lore. So we're going to do that, and then of course we're going to peruse through all the Kit Bash members tags posts, and showcase some of the cool ones that we find on Instagram. The cool thing about this is that there is no restrictions. If you don't want to participate one of the 3 days, you don't have to. Really, it's just about posting cool stuff on Instagram. Comment down below with your username on Instagram. That way we can check out your stuff. Also, if other people want to see, you want to show other people your stuff, which is what the whole purpose of this is, you could put your name out there and people can go out and follow you and see what you kit bash. I'm really excited and interested to see how you guys are going to kit bash these models. The whole theme is that they're supposed to be warriors who have been through a lot. They're basically survivalists. So keep that in mind when you're kit bashing. But that's all I have for you guys. Don't forget, we have a Patreon. If you want to support us on Patreon, it's a simple $1 a month. It helps us create more videos for you guys. If you can't, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it helps out the channel. Share these videos with friends who you think would be creative enough to create some badass looking models, and hopefully we see you on Instagram. But with that said, this was Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.